Welcome to the show, everyone. I am so excited about bringing on my first guest who has been on with me for years. I have with me Anna Von Straussenburg. She's the owner of Anna Von Straussenburg CPA. You have to talk a little bit about you. I must say something though before you go. The time is going by so fast. It's already tax season around the corner.
Oh, we are in it already.
Yeah.
It's amazing because of some changes I made in the office. We got some of our documents we send to clients. I send out a thing called an organizer, and typically I send it out at the middle to end of January. Well, we didn't get them out to the beginning of February, but people are already turning it right back around and giving me stuff, and so I can't believe it. It's just going fast.
It's going by so fast. Now, we want to talk a little bit about you. What I have to say about Anna, first of all, Anna, you are so passionate about what you do, and thank you for your service. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. Well, I actually changed careers way back in 1990. I had been working in a school and just decided I was burnt out on that job, and my husband suggested I go into business, and particularly accounting, because he said, who else ever does their family budget on a spreadsheet? Well, back in 1990, spreadsheets were Lotus 1, 2, 3, and if anybody's ever used it, they know it's not user-friendly. And so I applied for 3 jobs. I actually had a little interest in real estate, but the commercial real estate turned me down because I had no experience. McDonald's corporate, I interviewed for, and they were interested in me, and an accounting firm. And when I interviewed at the accounting firm, it was a perfect fit. And so after I got, settled there in my job, which I was the low man on the totem pole, I was the receptionist, but I decided to go back to school and study accounting. And so finally, after I'd taken a few courses here and there, I actually decided, you know what, I need a goal, so I get serious about it. And I said, I'm going to be a CPA by the time I'm 40. So that's what I did. I doubled up on my courses, and the week of my 40th birthday, we submitted the application for my CPA. And then later, I moved to Arizona, and when I was looking for a place to live, I stayed in a hotel in Mesa, and I looked up at this big tall building and said, wow, that would be an interesting place to work. Lo and behold, a year later, I got a job there.
Isn't that awesome?
And I've never left. My boss retired over 6 years ago now, and his son, who's a CPA, didn't want the firm because he likes doing other things, and so I took over the firm for him. I bought it because he said, you're the perfect fit. He goes, you've been practically running the firm for the last few years anyway.
So you see, and you know what's really cool is that when your boss comes to you and asks you if you would like to buy the firm, I'm sorry, that is kudos to you for what you are doing, and it's a compliment. It really truly is.
Yeah, I'm really glad he did, and I'm glad I own the firm. It's just been a wonderful experience, and I didn't even have to change offices. I just changed to a different room in the suite, but
So let me talk a little bit about you, because there's people need to know. First of all, you work nationwide. You do free consultations. You're rated with the Better Business Bureau, and you do second opinions as well. I think people need to understand that when they need to have if they're not sure if they're have their taxes done right, they need to make sure they have a second opinion. How many times have you found people money?
I would say 98% of the time. There was one person who did her own return, and she'd left off income, so I couldn't find her money. But I actually did have some suggestions to help her reduce what she owed because of her husband had stock options, and when they have the incentive stock options or restricted stock options, there's a lot of different flavors of that. The reporting you get from the brokerage firm is almost always incorrect, and you have to go back to the employer and say, well, how much of this was put in my W-2, because then you can reduce what you owe on taxes. And I'll tell you, all the other clients I have ever done, I've always found them money. And I've
Now-
always found errors. Never found 100% of the time I found errors.
So now her phone number to call, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. Arizona CPAs with an S.com. I want to talk about your business strategies because we really wanted to kind of go over that a little bit for what people can hear how you do things.
Yeah, well, my small business clients, I really like to work with them at least 3 times a year. The first time is usually in July. We look at the books all the way through June and just kind of more or less get a feel for it and talk about what they may be doing going forward. But the real time I really like to look at it is in November, and I look at the books all the way through the end of October. And by the time we look at the books, November's probably almost over. So we've got good numbers for November, and most business owners know what they're gonna do in December. And so then we can get a really accurate picture of, if they do nothing, this is what they're gonna owe tax-wise.
Right.
And then we talk about strategies. Should we contribute to the 401k? Should we contribute to some other kind of retirement plan? Should we buy new assets? And we talk about all that. With some clients, we talk about accelerating, paying off some of their debts or whatever, some of their expenses, things that you can count as expenses. And so we do that planning. And then, of course, we see it again when we do the taxes. And I always like to compare, say, well, how did we do?
And how close do you get?
Yep, because I'm a little bit of a nerd that way. So
She likes to call herself that, actually.
yeah, I got teased as a kid for being nerdy, but now I own it. I'm fine with it because that just means that I like numbers. So.
Exactly. I do want to also say some other things about you because you also like complicated returns, and I think it's really important for people to hear because not everybody, even the smallest person, could have a complicated return.
Oh yeah. Well, for instance, if you move from one state to another, that means you might have to file in 2 different states, and then some people, they may live here and work in another state. Say they work in California. Or they have a business where they do business in several states. And so that's one thing I'm very good at. I've done a lot of multi-state returns in my career, and that's something I've really developed a skill for and a love of it. I enjoy it.
You absolutely do. But also, even like my daughter, who works with three firms, right? She's 3 people that she works under, but also she's her own boss in one area. But a lot of people have side gigs today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, some people have their regular job and then they may have a small business on the side. And there's a thing where we have to determine whether or not it qualifies as a business or if it's a hobby.
Well, we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more. Let me tell you something. It's tax season. It's getting into the heat of it already. And you want to call somebody that, like Anna, her phone number to call, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. Her website is Arizona CPAs with an S.com. And I want to also say this before we leave too. You work with small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and also large-sized businesses. And when we come back, I'm going to tell a story about something that you do that probably nobody else does, and you'll know when we get back. Again, her phone number to call, it is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. It's Arizona CPAs with an S.com. And the story is you visiting.
Oh yeah, I thought you might be going there.
I'm not going to say people's, but someone's, I'll say it that way.
Business, yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're still live on Facebook here. How important, is it? Right now, a lot of people, they procrastinate so much, right? And how important is it for people to be more organized and help them be able to make it so that it's a little easier on you, right?
Yeah, well, it helps if people, gather their documents. In the case where somebody has a small business, sometimes they don't always have a bookkeeping program like QuickBooks or whatever. But if they at least organize it and put it in a spreadsheet like Excel's very user-friendly, that helps a lot, because I charge by the hour, and, a minimum of 15 minutes, so.
It makes it easier on you too,
Makes it
though.
easier on me, and it reduces their bills, so.
But also, I think that when people are more organized, there's less chances for mistakes to happen.
Yeah, and then they're also more aware of their own numbers, and I always like people to know what it is that their business is doing, and so.
Ever since I've met you, that is something that is so
Yeah.
important for you, because you like to work hands-on with them. Because when they know their numbers, you've basically said, then that's how they can make more money.
Yeah, because then they have good information. I have one client that we helped him fix his inventory, because his balances were all wrong, and then when he finally got some good numbers, okay, he was able to make decisions on where to invest in new segments of the business, and he grew it from a company that was losing money to making over $1 million a year,
That's awesome.
and he sold it for $12 million.
Wow.
So, and he probably would have stayed in the business, but he had a
He
health
should have given you a
problem.
piece of that action, because you helped him so much.
Oh, he paid me plenty.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's nice. I've actually had clients that have given me an extra bonus because they appreciated it so
I'm sure.
much.
I'm sure.
So I really treasure my clients, and I kind of adopt them like family. And I'll tell you, I saw a young man that I knew his parents before he was born, and now he is 17 and thinking about college, and
Oh, that's cool.
gonna graduate early from high school so he can take a little bit of time off to go travel and visit his grandparents.
That's so cool.
So his grandparents happen to live in Japan.
Oh, that's
So,
neat.
It was really exciting to see that, how he came from being a nothing to a little tyke and now to a big tyke.
So welcome back, everyone. And during the break, we're live on Facebook. We've been here now talking a little bit to Facebook land. I always do that during the break here. And we were talking about how Anna, how you love your clients. You treat them like family.
I do. I adopt them.
That's what you were just saying.
I adopt them, and I was just saying when we came on that I watched somebody, I knew the parents before he was born, and then saw him as a baby and a little kid, and now he's a big kid, getting ready to graduate from high school soon, so it's kind of exciting.
So before the break, I was telling everybody that there's a little story that I like to say about you, because it's something that I don't think very many CPAs do. A lot of people, when you have a CPA, you see them once a year, right? And what I love about what you do is you get so involved with your clients. We were talking about how you like to work with them hands-on, because you like them to know their numbers. But how many CPAs do you know that go to the business to really learn the business before they even really are starting with that person?
Well, the only other person I've ever met that did that was my former boss, and that was one of the things he taught me. So I got a new client last year, and one of the first things I did, I said, well, since you have a manufacturing plant, I'd like to see the facility. And he said, in all the years of business, and this business has been in business for over 50 years. He said, you're the first accountant that's ever asked to do that.
I'm sure. I mean, because there's not very many that do. And I have to say, kudos to you again, because this is what shows the kind of person that you are. And that's what I love about this show, is because they can hear people like you who talk about what they do and hear the passion in their voice and how much you care. Now, today, one of the things that you wanted to talk about was overtime deductions within the big, beautiful bill.
Yes. I was actually just talking to actually a former coworker who also kind of works for me a little bit on the side. And he said, oh, I've got quite a bit of overtime. And so we were talking about that, and I thought I might want to share some of the things we learned. One of the things is that deduction is not forever. It's from 2025 through 2028. So it's going to go away, or maybe, it's the one thing with tax laws that it's always subject to change. There's also limitations. You can deduct up to $12,500 per person. So if you're married, you can get $25,000. But there's also phase-out limitations. So if you make over $150,000 as an individual or $300,000 as a married couple, then you start to phase out of that deduction. And then, well, what is the deduction? They say on overtime. Well, the overtime, typically people are paid time and a half. Well, the deduction is for the extra half time. So it's a little bit quirky, and this year, because it's such a new law that it doesn't show on W-2s, the IRS didn't, get out drafting new forms. So basically you have to look at your last check stub and find out what you were paid in overtime, and then calculate it from there. So it's not very straightforward.
Well, anything they do is not, very straightforward. And it's what's sad is that how many people even know that?
Yeah. Oh, I had a client say, well, hey, my wife got overtime, but it's not on her W-2, and I had to explain it to him. And so, of course, he's bringing his documents in, so I'll be doing it. But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be getting it wrong. They'll take that number right off their pay stub and take the whole thing, and then the IRS might come back and say, oh, no, you can't do this. So you might be better off coming to somebody like me.
Who knows in advance. And one of the things that you also like to talk a little bit about yourself is that you get so much information. You go to school all the time. You're always taking classes, but you also get a lot of emails from the IRS where you literally, and I'm sure she's saying the truth because she could never tell a lie, no matter what, is that you actually read them.
Yes.
And learn from them.
Yeah, I look at them. Lately, a lot of the newsletters have been about releasing new forms, because when you have a big tax law change like this, it affects a lot of stuff in the tax code and on the tax forms. And so, we had some returns ready to file, but we couldn't file them because the forms weren't entirely
Well,
released.
they made that mistake. They should have been on top of things a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I do get the newsletters, not just from the IRS. I get some from Thomson Reuters, has a tax department where they send out a couple of newsletters. I get them from the CPA, which is the Society for CPAs. So anyway, the American Institute of CPAs. But I get all those newsletters, and then a few others from some courses I take. They send out a newsletter. I take one called Back to Basics every year, and they send out a newsletter. And so it's an ongoing process.
But the main thing is that what you see is you're always educating yourself to already be on top of what people need to know.
Exactly, I always do. You can't possibly know the whole tax code, but I try to know as much as I can. And if somebody asks me a question that I don't know, I will say, I'm going to research that.
The other thing that you do that I just would like to talk about for a second is that you guarantee your work.
I absolutely do. And this year we switched from one tax software to back to a software I'd used several years ago, because I realized that I made a change in the wrong direction. I didn't like my software. So in the process of going back, we found a couple of errors that the old software made. And so I called up the client and said, well, I'm sorry, hey, we've got a problem we discovered. We will fix it free of charge, and I'll pay the penalty. She came in and dropped off the bill, and I paid the penalty the very next day.
But that wasn't even your fault. It was the
Yeah, it was the software company's fault, but
you stood by your word.
I stood by my work.
Mm-hmm.
And when we found the error, I remember my boss always saying, as soon as you find the error, tell the client right away. Don't hesitate.
Right. And now I want to talk a little bit about, we were mentioning before, that how people should be more organized. A lot of people are not, and it makes it harder on you, right? Which makes it
Yeah.
harder to do what you do in a timely manner, right? But some of the suggestions that you might have for people right now, because the time has been going by so fast, it's hard for everybody.
Yeah.
So they start putting everything there in a box, right?
Yeah.
And they mean well by going, maybe, putting things on a spreadsheet, but they're like, I don't have time, so I bring it in just in a box. That's not good.
Yeah, I would prefer people, well, not just a box, if you get your tax documents, find a file folder, put them in a file folder. If you do have a lot of receipts for things like charitable contributions, it would help for them to just add that up. It really does help amazingly. And just to, ask me ahead of time. We provide clients with an organizer if they want it. Some people, I just have stopped sending it to them because they don't ever use it, but I do provide them, and I've now started providing them electronically. And that usually gives a list of what they had given me for the prior year, so they can use it to organize them for the current year.
So you help them with that too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now her phone number to call, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. And she works nationwide. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. She does second opinions. She does free consultations. It is tax season now, and please, just because she has the CPA behind her, it is so important that you don't have to be a big business making lots of money. That's not what this is about in any way.
No, you don't have to be. And I'd like to say at this time of year, don't hesitate, don't procrastinate, get your stuff and don't be late.
The phone number again to call is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. What are your final words?
Well, my final words are, a lot of people end up going on extension. One of the things I want to tell people is that extensions are an extension of time to file, not an extension of time to pay. So if you want to avoid penalties, have somebody calculate what you're going to owe, or get a ballpark figure so you can make a payment just in case you owe.
And let her help you.
Yes.
Her phone number to call again, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. Again, she does second opinions. I think it's very important. Please don't do them on your own. I mean, if you have a non-complicated or a very simple tax return, maybe okay, but even those, she has found mistakes and gotten people money back on. So again, her phone number is 480-964-4030. It's ArizonaCPAs with an S.com.